This is the North Carolina Rabbit Hole. I'm Jeremy Markovich, and I have not talked to you in a while. I've been busy. Do not take this as a sign that the podcast is coming back like every week or every month or whatever, but do take this as a sign that I am going to be trying some things, going to be experimenting with audio, with video, along with the newsletter over at ncrabbithole.com. So just know all that before we get to today's story, which is a weird one. It's a weird one. So a while back, I was listening to a podcast and I heard a soundbite on that podcast that triggered me. And it led me to investigate something that I really didn't know much about. I'd heard of this thing, but didn't know much about it. And I went pretty far down the rabbit hole, maybe too far down the rabbit hole. And I wrote a newsletter, and recently, the folks on the very podcast that triggered me, Joe Ovies and Joe Giglio, invited me on to actually talk about my story. So what you're going to hear today is me and Joe Ovies talking through the origin story, the weird, wild origin story of a song called Ay Ziggy Zoomba. Hope you enjoy.
Right now, I am talking to Jeremy Markovich. NC Rabbit Hole is the newsletter. Jeremy, you made some time to come on down to Eford Studios in downtown.
I love it here. It's cozy.
That's one way to describe our studio. For those who are unfamiliar with your newsletter, NC Rabbit Hole, what can we? You've been a guest on the podcast before. Some people might remember you from the time we had fun with Gravedigger going across the Sound in the Outer Banks. So for those who are unfamiliar with NC Rabbit Hole, what are you doing with the newsletter?
I basically have been a journalist for a very long time. And so you build up the journalistic skills of how do you research stuff? Who do you find that knows information? How do you tell a story? And I use that to focus on things that are like the smallest little things that are just like don't matter, but you go way deep on them and you find stories there anyways. It is sort of like, I don't know if you remember the old like Conan O'Brien sketch where it's like Frankenstein wastes a minute of your time.
Yes.
And he's like, Frankenstein, what you got for me? And he's like waving you along, like really excited. And he points at like a pipe in a closet.
Right.
Like it's kind of like that. I hope I kind of deliver a little bit more than that, but it is on that wavelength.
Have you thought about renaming your newsletter Jeremy Markovich Finds Out?
I have thought about it. I did, by the way, just change my logo for the first time ever, and it is now basically the state of North Carolina as a monster truck.
Oh, I love it.
So that is, I did at least make that slight upgrade. Maybe we could do it a different name.
All right. So your latest newsletter, I know you published this last week. I had put it on social media, but I thought that we could do our best Pablo Torre Finds Out impersonation into doing an NC Rabbit Hole Finds Out. The genesis of this goes into our summer protocols. Joe Giglio and I had done a few features called A Brief History of Triangle Good, just trying to illustrate the point that, hey, guys, it's all Spider-Man pointing meme around here, okay? And I had to go back through my notes. I found it in my notebook, what exactly was going on here. You know, I was going through things like Mike Patrick talking about Sidney Lowe, the Henderson-Hansborough fallout and things like that. The classic Butch Davis, Joe Giglio, Sam I Am back and forth, the Tom O'Brien triple play. And I was like, okay, where did we get to John Bunting? And I think what ended up happening was I was illustrating a point that all these UNC coaches have all kind of ultimately wound up the same, except that John Bunting, because he loved Carolina so much, he played for North Carolina, understood the dynamics of the rivalries better than most coaches that have come through Carolina. But the funny thing about John, I'm getting all my coaches confused. The funny thing about John Bunting is there's not a lot of media of him available on the internet. And I was trying to go and find his farewell press conference where he was basically like, F all y'all, you'll read it in the book, okay? Because he went out as a winner. Like he beat State, he beat Duke, right? So the only thing I could find on YouTube was this old clip of him doing Ay Ziggy Zoomba. And this was posted by somebody named NC Scuba. He's got 4 subscribers.
Good for him.
14,000 views, something that was posted 18 years ago. Now, that doesn't line up with John Bunting's time. This was posted after he'd been let go. So I don't know the context of why this is still floating on the internet. It's clearly ripped from camcorder footage because you see the date. This was at 6:14 p.m. on a random day. John Bunting's wearing a shirt over a polo, and he drops this.
I sing a Zumba, Zumba, Zumba. I sing a Zumba, Zumba, stay. I sing a Zumba, Zumba, Zumba. I sing a Zumba, Zumba, stay. Roll 'em down, you Tar Warriors. Roll 'em down, fight for capital life.
Now, context.
Mm-hmm.
This is something in the 30 years that I have lived here, Ay Ziggy Zoomba was nonsense to me. This is something that somebody of John Bunting's age, and when he played at Carolina, this sounds like something that was said by people who would go to a campus rumpus, like, hey, Sonny, we're going to go on down to the frat house. We're going to have a good old time. And we're going to maybe watch some football. Ay Ziggy Zoomba.
Soda fizz time, everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Back when they put cocaine in Coke. Like, that's how long ago this was.
That's old, yeah.
That's so old. So I just assumed it was nonsense. It's something that Carolina does, and I moved on with my life. But this activated something in your brain when you were listening to the 25 sound bites that explained the last 25 years of Triangle Good.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad I can assign blame to you for this. I would say, and it wasn't the whole month, but for about a month, this consumed me, unbeknownst to you. So
I did not know.
I'm here to maybe punish you for this. Maybe
Okay,
I don't
fine.
know. We'll see how this goes. But I heard this song, and which is it is part of the official Carolina songbook, right?
Yes.
Like this is on the website. This people sing it like it's in old stuff clips you'll read. And that is not why I know it. So my history is I've been in North Carolina for about 20 years. And before that, I grew up in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ohio in me, when I heard this played on your podcast, was like, that is stolen valor. That UNC has stolen somebody else's song.
Okay.
Because that song does not belong to UNC. To me, that song is firmly the property of Bowling Green State University.
Bowling Green. And so there's this. I have had friends that went to Bowling Green. I used to date somebody that was like a Bowling Green grad. I have colleagues that went to Bowling Green. Oh, I have a friend who went to Bowling Green. I've driven through Bowling Green. And
it's flat.
It's super flat.
It's windy.
Shout out to Russ. And I texted him. I'm like, hey, man, I'm in your old stomping grounds. He's like, that's the old stomping grounds for a lot of people in Ohio because that's where you party.
That is it. Yeah. There's a lot of party schools, but that is like the flat. Like I went to Ohio U, where it's like the lumpy kind of party school. That's like the Northwest Ohio in the middle of farm country. Mm-hmm. Nothing to block the wind. It's going to feel like an icy hurricane in January when you're trying to go outside for a smoke break, kind of a place.
I got you.
And they if you it's a parlor trick. If you know somebody from Bowling Green and you say, hey, Ay Ziggy Zoomba, they might drop what they're doing, kind of like Pee Wee Herman in the where he's in the phone booth and he's like, how can you prove you're in Texas? And he starts singing the stars at night.
Yeah.
They will probably just drop what they're doing and start singing Ay Ziggy Zoomba. It is entrenched into everything they do. The university calls it their magic words. They have been singing this song for 80 years.
Yeah.
They hired Eddie George to be their football coach. They the whole team in April surrounded him on the football field and they're bouncing up and down and they're singing Ay Ziggy Zoomba. The message board is called Ay Ziggy Zoomba. There's a bar in Bowling Green called Ziggy Zoomba.
So what's interesting is because
it's everything.
Inside Carolina, one of the websites that covers UNC, they have a general chat board. It's been there forever.
Yeah.
And it's called the Ziggy Zoomba Lounge.
Interesting.
So this is something that is entrenched with UNC people as well.
It's the old school UNC people, but it is very much a current day Bowling Green thing. And I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. How is it? And now, look, I understand.
Well, this is before the internet.
Yeah, this is before the internet.
So this would be it's the old thing is in radio. It's if this morning show in LA is doing it, I can do it back here because who's ever going to hear this radio show in LA?
Yeah, intellectual property was kind of more like a less of a thing back in the day.
Well,
how many Ramsey's heads were used at 5 different universities.
You did an NC Rabbit Hole newsletter on that very thing where you had there was no IP and people could just do the caricatures of the mascots and the same we did this with Strut and Stormy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pointing to it. It's in the studio. We have a pennant with the strutting, or I call him thick boy storming because of them thighs.
Yeah.
But that is a play on those vintage mascots, but nobody ever had any sort of rights to them.
Nobody cared. Yeah,
nobody
the
cared.
same guy made them all. And
Right.
also, like, people ripping off each other's like fight songs is like a thing. Especially high schools will take like my high school marching band song was like just like everybody in Ohio was across the field from Ohio State.
But this bothered you.
But this bothered me to the point where like, I'm like, well, okay, if it's Bowling Green and UNC, who else may have used this or who else uses this? The answer is like from my exhaustive research, nobody.
So there's two schools.
There's two.
Okay.
And so I'm like, what the hell? First off, I had like many questions. One is like, what does the song mean? Where did it come from? What's the deal?
Mhm.
And then second is like, why is it only at these two schools? Like, who brought it there? Like, what's the connection? And so I looked into the connection, and you will be shocked to know that UNC and Bowling Green do not really have much in common. They're like 500 miles apart. UNC very like, the first public university, and it's, the Carolina blue, and students dress up for like, football games, and like Bowling Green is just like flat and windy and everything is taupe, and the colors are orange and brown, which by the way, you're like, they stole the colors from the Browns. Actually, the other way around. The Browns were like, I like those Bowling Green colors, and now that's theirs.
Yeah, Bowling Green predates that.
So all of this stuff, like, like what do they have in common? Like, there's nothing like on the face they have in common. And then I was like, well, maybe they have some kind of old sports tradition that I am not aware. Maybe they, in the old timey times.
Was there like a Bowling Green coach that went to UNC?
Yeah, or maybe there's some kind of connection. The answer is like, no. They have played each other 3 times in the entire history of both programs. They played men's basketball in 69 in Greensboro. They played, I know this, I'm through this. They played in 82 on Thanksgiving Day in football and 1990 in women's basketball. That is the only 3 times. That is it. 3 times in like 100+ years.
And to be clear, there's not a Bowling Green coach that went over to coach track and field or something.
There could be
volleyball.
But in the sports in which you would have a band that would show up and play,
right?
I like that song. Like very little history.
Okay,
there.
Gotcha.
So I was like, well, okay, well, if I don't know, the deal with the actual, there's no connection. What about the song itself? So the song itself, basically, there's not, like, if you Google it, there's not much actually easily Googleable stuff at UNC. At Bowling Green, they're like, okay, there's this guy. He's a returning GI. Came back from World War II in 1946, and he learned this song in Italy when he was fighting with these South African soldiers. Okay, and it's like they had taught him this song. And it's like, this is some Zulu war chant. We love it. They sang it all the time. And he came back and he brought it back.
So this is what the song sounds like.
This is the song.
This is on YouTube. This is performed by a gentleman named Joseph Moraes, recorded in 1944. The Zulu Warrior.
Jikamalayo, Jikamalayo, Wow. I come a Zimba, Zimba, Zayo. I come a Zimba, Zimba, Z. I come a Zimba, Zimba, Zayo. I come a Zimba, Zimba, Z. See him there, the Zulu warrior. See him there, the Zulu chief, chief, chief. See him there, the Zulu warrior. See him there, the Zulu chief, 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 chief.
That's wild.
Yeah. It's the same beat, it's the same rhythm.
Yeah.
You do, and the words are a little different. And so what I end up finding out is this is not a Zulu war chant. This is a song that was sung by British soldiers who were like, colonizing South Africa and fighting against some of these tribes down there.
You mean colonizers were a problem?
Well, there's a long history of that. There's a lot of literature on that.
I would also chalk this up to, you and I are around the same age.
Yeah.
And we were raised on like Looney Tunes and things like that. And there's some representation that is problematic by today's standards.
A lot of the second verses of children's songs are like, oh no.
Oh, no. There's a reason why we do not repeat these things. There's a reason why when you watch I said Looney Tunes, you could do Disney as well. I have a collection of the original cartoons, and Leonard Maltin, the old movie critic, has to explain, hey, so this was a representation of Italians at the time.
Yes.
Right? Or like in Looney Tunes, like, yes, this is how, there was blackface in cartoons back in the day. So yeah, I could see where this is something you're fighting in a war, you're in the process of, you got colonization going on, and you see this, and there's a little send up to the culture, if you will.
Yes. So this was like a thing where back there, like we needed, like this is something tribal that we're bringing back from another place, and isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And so it kind of came back, and the deal with this song was it started to spread when all these soldiers came back to England, and so they started singing it at soccer games. The founder of the Boy Scouts actually had served he had been in like South Africa at some point, and he basically creates a Boy Scout song that is this song.
Okay.
And so it spreads among all the Boy Scouts. Like there's a lot of scouts or campers that even know this song just from singing it at camp.
So how does it get to Bowling Green?
So it gets to Bowling Green because this the song sort of becomes the version you heard was sort of when the song made the jump to America in like the late 1946.
Yeah.
Earlier than that, this guy who had been, all these GIs start coming home from war and they go back to wherever, and they asked this guy, his name is Gil Fox, and they said, hey, Gil, we need a song. Can you sing it at the assembly? And Gil's like, oh, what have I got? All right. Oh, I got one. And he sings up this song. And so he brings this song in, he starts singing it, and they're like, this is great. And it was such a hit. They're like, we should change the alma mater to this, and we should do whatever. And like it becomes more popular over time than the actual fight song of Bowling Green. It's not the official fight song. It's like one of two now. And it shows up at like, there's some movie from 1968 where like it's about the Detroit Lions, and they get a rookie from Bowling Green to stand up and haze, like they're hazing him by making him sing his fight song. And he gets up and like starts singing Ay Ziggy Zoomba. And so it becomes this whole thing, which by the way, the words Ay Ziggy Zoomba, this song ends up being sort of like a game of telephone. So you're hearing that earlier version is not, they're not saying Ay Ziggy Zoomba. It's like, I did it, you know, it's different.
So this sounds like this is like our version of how do kids all across America have the remixed version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Yeah. It's,
had a very shiny nose, like a light bulb. Like who brought that to schools? Sort of a thing. So
and so they adapted, like they maybe changed the English part of the song to adapt to whatever, because the original English lyrics were "Hold him down, the Swazi warrior," which that's bad. But then it becomes like, roll along, roll them out, and then it becomes like adapted for the Tar Heels
for sport
or
purposes.
Sports, or like if you're at a Boy Scout camp and you want to sing about the Scouts or whatever place that you're at.
So what is this, a Boy Scout that might have grown up somewhere and got to UNC? Or what?
Yeah, well, so basically what happened was, and by the way, the Ay Ziggy Zoomba part is like the fa la 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 la's in Deck the Halls. Like it's just filler words. It just sounds vaguely tribal, and they were just like, so like it always changes. So basically, I need to pause for a second on Gil Fox, because that's
so he wasn't like a Boy Scout that picked this up.
This was the least interesting thing that Gil Fox ever did.
Oh,
I will say, because he did this, he would then, like, after he was like a great student, he was into music, he was like he was in the Spirit Club of Bowling Green, that sort of thing, and he graduates in 1948. He actually got married to another student at Bowling Green, and she was like basically was like winning beauty contests back in the day. And they go on to move to New York City, to Greenwich Village. And Gil Fox is like, I'm a writer and I'm into a very specific type of writing I would like to be able to do here. And this is like 1950s Greenwich Village, very bohemian, very counterculture, very open sexually to a lot of different things. And so he's like, he finds a guy and he starts writing adult books, and he just starts cranking out like basically erotica paperbacks.
Appropriate term. Cranking out some erotica.
Yeah. He becomes, I don't know upon which, greatness is measured. But he's certainly had a very long career. He writes more than 100.
Okay.
He's prolific. He gets hired by everybody to do this. He's writing like one a month. He cannot write this stuff out.
He had a very active imagination.
He very much did.
Yeah,
Apparently, he and his wife had open marriage, and they, and also along the way, he has some friends that are in Greenwich Village, and they have him over, and it's like open. People were, drinking and smoking pot and doing whatever in 1950s Greenwich Village, and they go over to the friend's house one night, and they're like hanging out, and like they leave, and they're like, whoa, the snow that's coming down, it's all kinds of different colors, and like I just gotta dance, and like they had a really weird, paranoid, fun, crazy night. And it turns out they find out later that like the guys that they knew had drugged him with LSD. And it wasn't just because like, let's all have a good time. The guy was an undercover CIA agent running an experiment, because the CIA was like into mind control drugs at this point.
Yes.
So they were like, well, how are we gonna, like, what happens if we give somebody some LSD? Are they going to confess to everything and tell everything that they know? So the guy set up shop in Greenwich Village and was just like drugging people with LSD and then observing them to find out what happened. It became this major scandal. But like Gil Fox,
it was one of the
people.
Okay.
And later he was like, "Are you mad about this?" And he's kind of like,
"Nah, man, that's pretty cool."
It was kind of, I mean, it was I was a cool trip I had, you know.
Yeah.
And so, anyways,
maybe I should write some porn on LSD.
But I mean, you know what? Maybe you found your calling.
Yeah, maybe.
So, and then he goes on, he retires to like California, and he just basically, I talked to his son. He's like, he's just gonna watch TV for the latter part of his life.
Okay.
And so, the official story that I'm going to get to the connection, but the official story at UNC was that like this actually cheerleader who was this big time swimmer and diver. His name was Norm Spear.
Mm-hmm.
Dad was a syndicated sports writer in like the 30s. His mom was a vaudeville star. He becomes this incredible swimmer and diver.
But this is not Gil Fox.
This is not Gil Fox. This guy named Norm Spear.
Okay.
His story is that he goes off to war. He comes back and he's like, "Where are you going to go to college? Like, you're going to be a swimmer and diver." He unfortunately missed the Olympics, but where are you going to go? What are you going to do now? And he's like, "I'm picking UNC." He goes to UNC and becomes an all-American swimmer and diver. He's really good. The more memorable thing about him is he becomes like head cheerleader for like 2 years.
Okay.
Is like wants to be on Broadway, big time performer, you know, his mom's into that sort of thing. And becomes super popular. He invents the Duke UNC Victory Bell. He is the guy that like created that.
Oh.
He created these cardboard stunts where like, have you seen like an old timey things where like they make shapes in the stands? Yep. He brings that to UNC. So like they would like hold up card one.
Yeah. For the youngins out there that might be listening, card stunts were a big deal.
Yes.
Even when I was at NC State and when some of you might've been at UNC, because that's how, if you had a national game, like for instance, tonight, NC State and Wake Forest playing on ACC Network, right? But Thursday Night Football used to be a big deal. That was like a marquee matchup for college football. You were the only game in town and you were the spotlight. And in order to go viral or show out how great your fans were, you would do these card stunts. And sometimes they pulled them off. Sometimes they're not. But I did not realize this guy brought those card stunts to the Triangle.
Yeah, they were like a West Coast thing, and it became the UNC. And it was a huge deal. And it lasted for like 30 years until the students got mad at games and started throwing them on the field.
Yeah, that's a problem.
But that was what he brought there.
Sure.
And then like, before a Wake Forest game in 1949, they're having a pep rally. And Norm Spears like, "I got a new song for y'all." And he starts singing the song.
Okay.
And then it becomes very popular. And so in 1950, it's already in the Carolina Handbook. It's like, this is the thing, sing it to the tune of the Zulu Warrior. You know this song.
Yeah.
And it like lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts. And so I was like, well, that's an amazing coincidence. Like those are the only two schools. And the one thing that I found was, this was like very hard to find, but then it lined up once I found it. After Gil Fox graduated from Bowling Green in 1948, he enrolls in graduate school in North Carolina. He goes to UNC. And so he shows up at UNC. Mm-hmm. He is into fencing. So he's doing some sports.
Okay.
He's a music major. He is obviously a performer. Norm Spears is a performer. They're into the same sort of things. And then like magically this song like ends up being beloved. And so like I have exhausted every avenue to find out like, okay, do they show up together at the same time? Do they whatever like that? But they
they had to run in the same circles.
They ran in the same circles. They were, like, and like they were both like way into school spirit, and they were both like all of these things, like they really line up.
Okay.
And so I cannot say for certain, but it is like the same guy, very likely, like went to Bowling Green, like, here's some crazy song on a whim I'm going to sing for y'all. And they're like, we love it. Oh my God, that's our official song. It's our whole identity. And then he's like, he graduates and he goes to UNC and they're like, we need a new song. And he's like, I got one for you. And then they start singing at UNC like, oh my God, we love this song too. And they become the only two schools that use it. Like it's just like this wild coincidence, but it's just watching how things used to spread back in the day.
Yeah.
Is kind of wild. And it's also wild to me that like, I would say generations of UNC and Bowling Green students, alumni, teachers, faculty, everything like that have just been sort of like singing this song. Like it just becomes like you strip away all the context, all whatever. And it's just like, oh yeah, I guarantee you like hundreds of thousands of people probably sing the song and have no idea like what it means, where it came from, who brought it, what's happening.
I want to go back to Gil Fox for a second.
Yeah.
because I'm trying to really crystallize the timeline here.
Yes.
So he leaves Bowling Green, he does grad school at UNC, and then he goes to New York?
And then he goes to New York.
And that's when he starts writing porn and he gets hit with LSD and then moves to California.
And his wife, by the way, the reason why he came to UNC is because his wife's family was from Chapel Hill. So his wife had already graduated. She was kind of just hanging out, working here, and while he did his thing at UNC.
Did you track down any of the surviving family of Gil Fox?
I did. I tracked down his son.
Okay.
And his son basically said at some point, like Gil Fox, by the way, gave all the reason why we know all this is because like later on in his life, he gave like 2 interviews. One about the LSD, one about the softcore porn. And so and so that was it. But like I asked his son, who's out in California, like, what did your dad ever talk about this?
What's your dad's legacy? Doing LSD.
He was like,
kind of blowing the whistle on CIA, LSD experimentation.
He was kind of like, I knew the guy. He was just kind of a guy from the neighborhood. He was like 9 when all this was happening, and so he's just like, yeah, I remember that guy, but I don't remember any of the LSD stuff. Like, why would you? You were 9.
And also, men didn't talk about their feelings back then.
No, they really didn't. They had to, you know, now men go on podcasts, talk about their feelings. It used to be, I guess you just talk to interviewers.
No, you would push it down and you would just raw dog life, Jeremy.
Yeah,
that's how you go about things.
That's the way when men were men.
Back when men were men, you just LSD to forget.
You just LSD to forget things, or maybe bring them back up. It depends on like where you want to,
or just have a debilitating drinking problem. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff to do.
But at some point, like I asked, like he's like, my dad was actually pretty private. Like, tell me about the war, Dad. And Dad's like, nope.
That's
that's very, very much normal.
That tracks.
So like, I don't want to talk about the war. I don't really talk. He's like, I don't really want to talk about like my career.
But I got this banger song.
And at some point, they were like, I guess Bowling Green had maybe tried to contact him, like, you should come back. Like, we want to honor you. And he's like, nah.
So, if the best we can say to go back to this, the best we can do is assume that these 2 individuals who both were in the war.
Yes.
And had heard this song at some point in time. Gil Fox tells, who's the other gentleman's name?
Norm Spear.
Norm Spear. I have to assume at some point they're at a party or they're just within their little athletic circles, and they probably strike up a conversation like, "Oh, where'd you serve? Oh, where'd you go? Yada yada yada." Yeah. And then they have this connection through the song, and then Gil Fox says, "Hey, man, I'm not telling you to do this, but I got a banger that might work with some of the other stuff that you're doing."
Yeah.
And then it becomes this. So that's what we can assume.
Yes.
But here's my thing.
Okay.
That I'm struggling with. You've been here 25 years?
20 years.
20 years. You've never heard that before.
I have not.
So this podcast was the first time you heard that.
The first time. I had never heard it before.
And it's not like you haven't gone to UNC games.
No, I mean, my wife is a UNC grad, and I asked her, I was like, hey, have you ever heard this? She was like, it sounds kind of familiar. Like,
interesting.
It is kind of like, I think it is one of those things. It is kind of faded over time.
Yeah, it has.
Because I think to me, like the Carolina fight song, when I die, I'm Tar Heel dead, go to hell, dude. Yeah, like that has like more like specific, emotional, there's some ad lib Duke hate in there, but like it's got a lot more emotion to it. And again, like Bowling Green is Bowling Green. And like they have like we have this weird song and it's kind of ours. And so they've leaned into it versus UNC has, I don't know, other things going on.
Well, all the triangle schools have their own little idiosyncrasies. Like at NC State, you've got, was it Duke is puke, Wake is fake. Yeah. The team I hate is no. It's the other way around. It's Carolina, right? It's Duke is puke, Wake is fake. The team I hate is NC State. Like that you drop that on a student today. They're like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right. So there's and then of course, like you talk about the NC State fight song. It's like just a remix of various other fight songs. So that all that stuff makes a lot of sense. The part that I was struggling with is that being here 20 years, you had not heard that before. No. When it was still 20 years ago, still being used by John Bunting.
Yeah. It was.
You've gone to North Carolina Wake Forest games. I know this.
I have. I have been in the stands at basketball, football games.
Yeah.
I just not heard it. Or if I had not heard it, it had not been like them singing the song. Maybe it was the marching band playing the tune and da-da-da.
And you just hadn't really picked up on it.
As soon as he said Ay Ziggy Zoomba, I was triggered. And I was like, nope. You've activated the sleeper cell. You activated the Ohio sleeper cell.
The next thing you know.
And now I'm like, man, did I actually go so deep too? Like, did I go too deep on this?
Well, this is what I was going to close with.
Yeah.
This is how we will determine whether or not you went a little too far on this one.
Okay.
Specifically to Gil Fox.
Yeah.
Who went on to have an erotic literature career.
Yeah.
Did you find any of his work?
I did, yeah.
Did you read any of his work?
I did, yeah.
Okay, then yes, I can say definitively that you went a little too far.
It's pretty tame.
Well, I mean, by 50s standards.
By 50 standards, pretty wild, but like it would be like, you know, like I don't know, like romance books at my my grandma's house that she had like laying around. You're like,
I'll go on Reddit, and there's a subreddit called The Way We Were, which is a fascinating subreddit, and they'll show you pictures of like women being escorted off the beach because they were revealing too much. So I got to imagine that erotica in the 50s was a little bit different.
This was like, hey kids, do you know what Times Square used to be? do you know what they used to do in Times Square? Like what was entertainment there? It wasn't the weird dude in the Elmo costume.
Because now
it was those books being sold.
I'll get fed a TikTok or a reel, and it's like it's basically book humor, and it's like, oh, do you have any fantasy romance novels? And it's like, well, which one do you want? You want the one where they do it with a dragon, the one where they do it with an elf? Do you want it with like it's like that kind of stuff? It's like my guess that stuff wasn't really being made back in the 50s.
No, it was. So literally the guy that I will close with this. This is the most like repressive, like, man, things have changed sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because always like his books were for men, but there was a lot of lesbian books being written, like a lot of lesbian scenes in these books.
Yeah.
And they said, well, how did you get the ideas for these things back in the day? And he said, well, I would watch a movie, and I would watch a romance scene in a movie, and then I would just take out the man and put in a woman, and that was the story.
That's smart.
I mean, yeah,
just like he took out the whole Zulu warrior stuff and put Bowling Green in.
There you go. It's adaptation. You know your audience, and you adapt to what they want.
If you learn anything from today's segment as we went down this North Carolina rabbit hole, everything is a remix.
Nothing is original.
Everything's a remix.
Yes.
Jeremy Markovich, NC Rabbit Holes, the newsletter. I highly recommend you subscribe to it. It is a fascinating read. And where you go with some of the stuff, I'm just like, what? Yeah. And this one I had to have you in studio because I just wanted to apologize to you personally, because I know what it's like when you go, all right, because that's what the 25 sound bites was for me. That's honestly what it was. It's just like I spent too much time going down the YouTube rabbit holes to find clips, because part of this is important in that a lot of this stuff is just disappearing off the net.
Yeah.
You know, remember when we were sold the promise of the internet being an archive for everything? Well, what happens when you shut down a server?
Yeah.
Goes away. A lot of this stuff's going away.
Yeah. And it's amazing to me, like, the reason why I could do this story is because people used to write things down. And then they saved them. So God bless for happening at a time where I could go back and find everything.
Which means in about 60 to 70 years, somebody might find this audio file, because there's nothing written anymore.
But we're going to press it on a gold record like we're putting it on Voyager.
Let's do it.
And we're going to save it for all time.
All right, Jeremy, thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks. Many thanks to Joe Ovies. You can find his podcast at Ovies and Giglio on YouTube, on Spotify, on all the places where you would find the podcast nowadays. And you can find my newsletter and everything else I'm doing over at ncrabbithole.com. I'm Jeremy Markovich. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.